My name is Kayla, and today I have James. James is from the Hop team, and today he's going to be telling us all about the project Hop. So please, James, tell us, what is Hop about?
Well, thank you very much for the invite, Kayla. So the Health Oracle Protocol, shortened to HOP, started its life way back in 2008, when I'd come across the first wearable and hacker tinkering kit text to do with devices. So I'd just come out of a peer-to-peer project to do with text mining and WordPress feeds. And I just thought this more personal data would be, needed to be treated more sensitive, and it turned out not to be the case. So anyway, I was a swimmer, still am. So I built this timing system for swimmers to time themselves and then get analytics on their tablets. It was all networked via the Raspberry Pi. And so basically, over the last decade plus, this concept of combining data science with peer-to-peer networking and analytics is morphed into the Health Oracle Protocol. And health really means the health of Gaia, i.e. planet Earth, from the macro sense all the way to our individual lives and other life on planet Earth. Well, the big mission here is to democratize, the ability for people to use data science tools. So it's still reserved to data engineers, some people with technical skills, semi-technical skills. But I think my inspiration was from WordPress, that, you can democratize, freedom of expression. And so now this project's all about democratizing, the freedom to understand and get your data working for you. So it's a broad mission, and that's our energy to create a graphical toolkit that's accessible to more people from the get-go, called the Bento Box Data Science Toolkit. So now that we've got an offering that could achieve some of that mission, then we're looking at people that would be interested in preserving their own privacy. So I'm a member of a project called Gadget Bridge that allows me to take my wearable data and take ownership of it. And now in my demonstrations, and that I can start to analyze it the way I see it. And then the next phase of the project, to build small networks that allow us to collaborate to gain insights. So the goal is to find a group of people now that want to take ownership of their data, help them to do that, and then build small embryonic networks so that we can, get collective understanding of what's going on our own health, to our local climate, to the broader climate.
Oh my, that's a lot of work, James. I'm really impressed by Hop because I love how it's particular about health. Health is a very, very important topic to everyone, no matter what your field or niche is. And I really believe that a lot of people would be very interested in this. But how is Hop funded, or what are the plans to sustain this project?
So the project has been self-funded to date, maybe with the help of Bitcoin in the last 10 years. But it does feel like it's come to an inflection point where it needs, broader open source improvements, reliability, and just making it more robust. And again, inspired not just by WordPress, but the open source community of taking products, like Python, Anaconda Python, Drupal. There always seems to be a commercial open source company. Canonical and Ubuntu. So yeah, there's plans underway to try and form some sort of commercial open source company, and see whether there's funding out to get a small team to really boost the core development and refine the user experience, find that sweet first set of use cases, and then hopefully maybe inspire other entrepreneurs to take the technology and use it like we've seen for other open source projects.
Wow, that's great. But are all parts of Hop open sourced?
As far as I know, so everything that I contribute or is contributed goes to our GitHub repos, and pretty much when it's committed, it's open source, and that's been from day one. Even before organizations like GitHub existed, it was an SVN server So yeah, pretty plain and transparent, and hopefully that sets the principles going forward for other plugins or contributions.
So that means that all the code repositories can be found on Hop's personal GitHub, right? Which is?
Which is github.com/health science.
So how does Hop use Hypercore protocol or P2P?
So the project was founded on a peer-to-peer principle. So I created my own little networks using Raspberry Pis initially. So this is back 2008, 9, 10, of course. Peer-to-peer infrastructure got a good boost in 2009 with the launch of the Bitcoin network. So I was very quick on to, well, it's a very small community there, who's doing, peer-to-peer data infrastructure, data infrastructure. So I find projects like the Safe Network, and I forget the main file, saving protocol. Always forget about that, but it was the original one. But I think during my time I met Caitlin, I think it was, who had set part of the founding team of Science and Society, which I think then was basically the home for the DAP project. So, I tinkered around, downloaded it. Protocol Labs came along in 2013, 14, 15 was it? Quite late in the party. But about 4 or 5 years ago, that project was going through its changes to Hypercore. I took another look at it. I wanted to basically commit to one solution to get the initial Health Oracle protocol. So, I was impressed by the Hypercore protocol, took a risk on it, and it's the core usage of it. I use it in many ways. When someone wants to upload a file, I will use Hyperdrive to keep a copy of that. That's the only time it's ever used. First time it goes through the Health Oracle protocol and produces results, it goes into a Hyper-B where you have the hash of the results and then the tidied up computed results. And then there's a bit more of a complicated story. So it helped contribute to the open sourcing of smart contracting platforms. I suppose the main one would be Ethereum, which seemed to hold promise of, allowing us to have something to our data, but sort of manage the evidence of the compute. I don't know, I would say that for me it's all completely failed. So the Health Oracle protocol creates this ledger, and this ledger gives me the proof of the compute that I've gone through all the data science cycle and the results. But instead of having like smart contracts in terms of blockchains, I created a thing called the network library. And the network library is not like a Turing complete software language, scripting language, or a partial scripting language. I've chosen like a Lego metaphor. So you have these building blocks of reference contracts. So a data type would be a reference contract. For example, it would be a form that fills out references to Wikipedia pages or Wikipedia pages. And then you'd have a packaging contract, which describes the columns in a file or a database. And then you'd have the compute contract. So it could be, an observation, i.e. do nothing except just, look at the data, or you do an average of the data, or a rolling average, or a more advanced, regression computation. And then you have reference contracts that describe the visualization, whether it's a chart or simulation. And so that's the core ingredients. And so I think there's about 8, 9 of those sort of base reference contracts, but they need packaged in to describe a whole data set, which I now call a Bento board. And these are module contracts. So you have module contract of what's the board, purpose, name, the question you're asking, what data sources are compatible with it. So while I've described my wearable data for my Gadget Bridge project, I need to describe, other people in the community will need to describe their Fitbit or their Apple Watch or many other devices. So each of those would be described in modules, and then the person that joins the board they join with their choice of data packaging. So I've been finding this quite hard to explain to people because it's like a novel way of using smart contracts or contracts. But again, these are all saved in Hyper-V's, which obviously both Hyper-V and Hyperdrive sit on the Hypercore protocol.
Thank you so much, James, for that in depth explanation. So, what are the plans for Hop in the next months or the next year? I mean, what do you have in store?
Team building. So there has been let's say a score of people have helped me over the last 10, 15 years, but it's been large part myself, and it just feels time that the project needs to be explained and, get other bright and willing minds to help on many fronts, from user experience to understanding the core concepts. I think and that process is underway, and so we meet on Fridays and ad hoc, and hopefully this process of this interview will inspire a few other people to help me. And so yeah, this is the key thing, to set up regular, well-focused, whether it's user Bento Box, the graphical side, or the compute engine itself, or improving the use of Hypercore as we make these small networks. So that's on the open source side. And again, once a week, I'm starting to pull together slides, potential business models, spreadsheets, and again, looking at use cases from a wider group of people and getting to know those to see if there's potential to come together to fund an entity. So out with that, the second major sort of milestone for the graphical toolkit is to build these networks. And there's two aspects to that. There's the humans creating what we call warm networks, so that there's 5 people sharing wearable data, so they can explicitly use the hyperswarm replication to collaborate. And the more topical issue of the last few months is to allow people to have control over machine learning algorithms. So I've already started to look at using Open Assistant to help people onboard the data and also to produce charts. So this is a new frontier for the project. It's sort of been in the foundations, but it does feel like this whole GTP interface stuff is moving quicker than most of us thought. So start to do a few experiments on how we can use those open source tools that are out there.
That's beautiful, James. Well done. I wish you all the best in achieving all your goals for Hop. I admire your grit, and I really hope and look forward to seeing you reach all those goals. But what if someone wants to join the community or contribute to the project? How does that work?
So I've got a couple of websites. So bentoboxds.org. That's more focused on the graphical toolkit. There is an old version. If you're on Windows or Linux, you can download the binaries and take it for a whiz. The only downside to that is that your account will be empty of data, but there is tutorials linked where you can build a board from scratch. You can upload CSV, SQLite, and JSON files, and so it is possible to do that. You'll find the link to community, and that is a Discord server. And so within the Discord server, you'll see me contributing updates for Bento Box, the Health Oracle protocol, thinking about how to tackle the AI agent, which we call BB, just to be. So that's the main focus. That's where I'm picking up these 2 or 3, 4, 5 people that are showing interest in the project. And of course, the GitHub repository, and you'll get a link to that. The Health Oracle protocol's got a website called healthscience.network. So that provides a high-level introduction to that. But through the Discord, you'll see me posting some embryonic documentation. And the feedback is that needs a lot of work. And I think it's two parts to that. Is one, it's novel and new, and I might use language which is more commonly used in other places to mean something different. But once you get into the mindset of the concepts that are new and novel, then there's definitely needs to be an uptick in the quality of the documentations. I have started a Git book, which I think I've listed in the Discord server. And now that I'm coming to sort of a stable milestone, that'll get more of my attention in the weeks ahead.
That's wonderful. And I can't wait to see how much people get involved with Hop. I look forward to seeing a lot of people contributing in so many ways. Well done, James. Thank you so much for letting us hop through this project with you. Thank you for explaining for us, and I wish you all the best.
It's been a joy. Thank you.